if you are not losing weight or seeing the results that you want to on the carnivore diet, then I have 5 things that you can try and do to actually see the results that you want to see. And I've got 2 bonus tips at the very end that I'm going to give you. So really there's 7 things here, if I can even put that out here. So 2 bonus tips, stay to the end and you'll get those bonus tips. All right. Number 1 here that I want to bring up is consistency. Consistency is king. You hear this all the time. Now, yes, it is true. If you are very overweight, very unhealthy, you can be inconsistent and see results. Start getting healthier, start losing weight. Okay. You can be. But at some point, you're going to hit a plateau. And if you're not very overweight and very unhealthy, you're going to have problems right from the beginning. How do I know this? Well, I've experienced this myself. I wasn't necessarily the most consistent, yet I lost a lot of weight. First 3 months, I lost 60 pounds. The first year, I lost 85 pounds. And then I pretty much didn't see any difference in weight, saw slow changes with different measurements and stuff like that, but nothing like what I should have. And part of that was because I just wasn't consistent all the time. Consistency is huge. I know you're thinking, you know what? I'm going to do this 5, 6 days. I'm going to take one day. I'm going to have a cheat meal or whatever. But that inconsistency actually does cause problems for you. I don't know how else I can really explain this other than that I have experienced this myself. And what I do know is that when I am consistent for weeks and weeks at a time, I see much better progress. That's the best way to put it. Um, One of the biggest things I'll see, even now, I have been carnivore for almost 4 years, but one of the biggest things that'll happen is I'll be going along really well, and then I'll have something happen. Like for instance, a couple weeks ago, my daughter got married. So my daughter got married, and I had a piece of cake at the wedding, and then the next day I had another piece of cake. Well, it turned out I ended up having cake for like 3 or 4 days in a row, just a piece of cake, right? Figured that's not horrible. Well, I did gain a decent amount of weight. I gained 8 pounds from that, but it took me a couple weeks to get right about where I was before. And I know you're thinking, well, that was water weight, but why did it take me a couple weeks to lose all of that weight back again, the entire amount? And that was also with some extra things, not just carnivore, but doing some fasting and so forth. Other things I had where I just felt more sluggish. I started to feel, I got some pain actually in my joints of my fingers. So different things like that happened. And it took me some time to get back on track. So those things, while you might not think that it's that big of a deal, that really does hurt because it slows down your progress. It slows down your ability to see results. All right. So that was a big one, number 1. Number 2, I'll talk a little bit quicker on this one. This one is proper sleep. If you are only getting a few hours sleep, that is going to hurt you. It really is. It's going to slow down your progress, and you might not see any progress at all. You may even gain some weight because of that. Sleep is very important. You need to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if you're saying, well, I'm already getting 7 hours of sleep and I'm still not seeing results, I'm still not seeing the energy levels I should, maybe you need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. But you need probably in that range, 7 to 8 to maybe 9 hours of sleep every night. That is huge. It affects your cortisol levels and other things, and it's just very big for you. All right, number 3, sunlight. Getting into sunlight is huge, especially early in the day. Getting that sunlight, it just helps with your energy, and it is also very important for your mood. It's just one of those things where now I go out in the sun and I just enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, feels so good. I just want to stay out here and get some sun. I never, excuse me, I never used to be that way, but that is something that is very big. You know what else sunlight is very big for? Making vitamin D. Your body makes vitamin D when you're out in the sun getting sunlight. So that is very big for you. That is big for your health and so forth. And it's going to help with many different things, including magnesium. Vitamin D, magnesium kind of go together. So if you're having issues with your magnesium levels, it could be because of vitamin D. All right. Number 4 here is going to be to change up how you are eating. If you are not seeing the results and you're eating 2, 3, 4 times a day, switch it up. Try one meal a day. Try 2 meals if you're eating 3, whatever it is. If you can do one meal, that is probably even going to be more optimal. Now, I will say that this works better for males than it does for females. Females tend to do better, it seems like, with eating twice a day. Maybe you can eat a bigger meal and then a smaller meal, although some females do perfectly fine with one meal. Men tend to do a lot better with the one meal a day thing, and it can make a big difference. Not only is it just a difference because every time you eat, your body kind of has inflammation, right? And the less amount of inflammation that you're putting in your body at once per day is better. So not only do you have that, but you also have the fact that you might not be eating quite as much if you're eating one meal a day as opposed to, let's say, 2 or 3 meals a day. Um, you may be eating more in that one setting, but you still may be eating a little bit less, and it still might be enough for what you need. So try and get your protein and your fat intake right, but see if you can do it in one meal a day. All right. Number 5 here. This is the last of the 5 main things that I talked about before we get to the 2 bonus tips. And this one is fasting. And I'm not just talking about intermittent fasting here. I'm talking about a real fast, 48, 72 hours or more, right? Um, Here's the thing that happens when you get into the 48-hour time frame. You're really going to start noticing autophagy and stuff like that happening. Your body's going to really start pulling more the stored fat in your body, which is what you want to do. You want to get rid of that stored fat, right? Get up to 72 hours, it's doing that even more so. And that is very big. So if you can do some fasting, maybe you do a 48 or a 72-hour fast once a week or once every 2 weeks, whatever it is you can do, that is going to help you to see results. All right. We're going to go into 2 bonus tips that I have for you. Bonus tip number 1 is adding fermented foods. Now, there are lots of different fermented foods out there. There are a lot of people doing carnivore that do fermented foods. You've heard more recently, RFK Jr. has talked about it. And fermented foods are now on the U.S. Food pyramid. All right. So here's the thing about fermented foods. If it has been fermented long enough, the fermentation process removes all of the toxins, the oxalates, lectins, all that kind of stuff from plants. Okay. If it has been fermented long enough, it removes most, if not all, of the carbohydrate as well. You can also do fermented foods that are not plant based at all, that are just carnivore based. So we're talking about things like aged cheeses, a blue cheese or something that has been aged for like 8 months. I like to do a blue cheese that's usually aged about 8 months, and it comes from raw milk. And that's a really good fermented cheese, for instance. So you can do that. Yogurts, you want to be careful. You want plain yogurt. Don't want anything that has different flavors with different added stuff into it. So you want plain, full milk, full fat, whatever yogurt. Kefir, however you want to say that. That is something that is fermented and works pretty well. You can also do some of those fermented vegetables, fermented fruit, stuff like that. You want to stay completely away from just regular vegetables and fruits. But fermented vegetables and fruits do not have any of those plant toxins. They don't really have the carbohydrates in them. And if you want, you can just actually do the liquid, which you'll still get the benefit. You'll get the healthy microbes from the fermented food, just from the liquid, even if you don't want to do like sauerkraut or whatever and actually eat the actual sauerkraut, kimchi, whatever. But, you will get a big benefit from that because it's going to help your gut, your microbes. It's going to help you to get rid of some of the bad microbes that you might have in your gut. And it's going to help with cravings. It's going to help just with your mood, your energy levels, and so forth. So that is a huge thing, is the fermented foods option. Now, people will say, you know what, you might have some carbohydrate in that. And yes, if you're buying from the store, there's probably a better chance of that. Though, if you ferment your own foods, you can make sure you're fermenting long enough that there's probably no carbohydrate in there, really. But actually, all food pretty much has some carbohydrate. Believe it or not, meat has a small amount of carbohydrate to it. Eggs have a small amount of carbohydrate to it. Um, Keep in mind, in the US, the nutrition labels can say 0 carbs as long as it is less than 1 gram of carbohydrate. So it can be 9/10 of a gram of carbohydrate per serving, and it will say 0 grams of carbs. So you'll think there's no carb in there. So yes, eggs have carbs, meat have carbs. It's a very, very small amount, but just keep that in mind. So if you're taking, let's say, a little bit of yogurt and it has a couple of grams of carbs in it per serving, and you're using this, again, this fermented food as like a dip for your meat, your steak, your burger, whatever, you're probably taking maybe 1/4 of a serving. So you might have 0.5 gram of carb in that. So keep that in mind. It's not much different than eating eggs. Okay. Tip number 2, bonus tip number 2 here. And this is, what are you measuring in terms of whether or not you are seeing results? Are you just looking at the scale? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you should forget about your weight on a scale. It will fluctuate and it will lie to you. What do I mean by lying to you? Well, there are times you are going to see a weight gain or a weight stall, and you are actually losing fat and getting healthy. And that's what you want to do. You want to lose body fat, right? So you're losing those things. You're losing fat, you're getting healthy, but you're gaining muscle. And on the scale, it's the same, or it went up a little bit, or you just fluctuated from one day to the next. So you need to forget about the scale. It's not so much about what you weigh, it's about your health. And over time, as you get healthy, you're going to see a difference on the scale. But keep in mind, if you don't have a lot to lose, you might not see a huge difference on the scale because you're going to gain muscle. And I know you might be thinking, like, well, I don't need to be really big and muscular, anything like that. That's not what I mean. You can gain a decent amount of weight in terms of muscle without actually looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger out there, right? Um, something to keep in mind is, as you are aging, what is one of the worst things that you see for people that are getting older and unhealthy? It is that they have trouble getting up, walking, so forth. They've lost that muscle tone. You need muscle. The people that are older, that are healthy, look pretty fit, right? They have a decent amount of muscle on them. Now, I'm not saying that they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, no, but they have a decent amount of muscle. So don't be afraid of that. Okay. Adding muscle is going to change your weight. And that's why you want to stay away from the idea of worrying about what my weight is and whether or not carnivore is working for me, because this is what my weight was before and this is what it is now. Get away from that. It should be about your health. How do you feel? Are you feeling better? Did you have issues that have gone away or have improved? Have you seen your actual belly go down if you had like a lot of fat, right? Those types of things. Those are the things that you want to look at. You want to really get rid of belly fat, visceral fat inside your organs and, wrapped around your heart and so forth like that. And you want to get healthy. You want to feel better. You want to feel strong. You want to be able to do things, get in and out of a chair without being sore. That's the type of stuff you should be measuring. And that is how you know whether or not you are seeing results.